Kare Mwapenduka and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. I am Glenora Shipura, joined by Diana Master. Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Mamukase.
Tamuka Mamukase.
Pesi, I'm learning.
You're learning. You're definitely getting there. I'm super proud of you.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, hopefully...
I'll be the Zimbabwean ambassador.
Okay, that's quite ambitious. But getting into today's top stories, Ghana Navy rescues over 8,000 as dams overflow. Zimbabwe worker exodus intensifies with economy in meltdown. And Nigeria proposes 26 trillion naira budget for 2024. We'll also be crossing over to Cape Town a little later on the show to talk to Ari Hulgad as he updates us on all the news making headlines in South Africa. We'll now take a quick ad break and return with our top stories.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Getting into our top stories, Ghana has deployed its Navy and other teams to rescue thousands of people affected by the spillage of excess water from some of the major dams amid heavy rains. More than 8,000 people have been rescued in the Volta region after heavy flooding caused by the overflow of Okasomba and Kapong hydroelectric dams. A Navy official told local media that they had evacuated over 8,000 flood-stricken people to safe havens. Commodore E.A. Kwafo said they were also responding to distress calls as well as keeping watch on critical infrastructure. He said they had taken more boats downstream and experienced divers and lifesavers to assist in the rescue efforts, and more resources would be made available depending on the situation. The controlled spillage of the dams began about a month ago and is still ongoing, the Volta River Authority said. It says the flooding has created a humanitarian challenge downstream in several communities in parts of the Volta, Eastern and Greater Accra regions.
Now, years of mass migration from Zimbabwe has gained fresh impetus as an economic meltdown continues unabated, further denuding the country of the scarce skills it needs to engineer a turnaround. Census data released by neighboring South Africa this week showed the country was home to 1.01 million Zimbabwean immigrants last year, up from 672,308 at the last count in 2011, and an average annual increase of almost 31,000. Immigration data released for the first time by Zimbabwe Statistics Agency in September last year showed 908,913 of the country's estimated 16 million nationals were living abroad, and 85% of them were in South Africa. Those numbers are likely an undercount, with frequent migration between neighboring countries making an accurate assessment tricky and undocumented foreigners unlikely to participate in population surveys. Once a regional grain exporter and one of Africa's best educated nations, Zimbabwe went into free fall in 2000 after then President Robert Mugabe backed the seizure of land from white commercial farmers. Export earnings collapsed and hyperinflation ensued, which led to the abolishment of the national currency in 2009. Now, further confirmation of the ongoing worker exodus comes from the UK, which eased entry rules last year to address skills shortages that followed its 2016 exit from the European Union and the onset of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. Visas were issued to 20,152 Zimbabwean health and social care staff in the 12 months through June, an almost five-fold increase from the year before and the third most in the category after way more populous Nigeria and India, Foreign Office data show. It is estimated that more than 112,000 Zimbabweans were living in the UK, almost 5 times the number authorities in the African nation reported 10 months earlier.
In our next story, Nigeria plans to spend 26 trillion naira, about $34 billion, for the 2024 budget and will assume an annual price of $73.96 for its expenditure at an exchange rate of 700 naira per dollar, its budget minister said on Monday. Atiku Bagudu, speaking to reporters, also said Nigeria will target oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day under the 2024 spending plan. He added the government will set aside 8.25 trillion naira for debt service and 7.78 trillion naira to cover salaries and pension for civil servants. Bagadu said the economy is expected to grow at a rate of 3.76% next year, with inflation currently at a 20-year high of 27.72%.
Getting into our next story, multi-sectoral technical delegations from Angola and Kenya hold meetings in Nairobi from Monday to Wednesday as part of the first session of the Joint Bilateral Commission for Cooperation, with the aim of negotiating agreements aimed at strengthening cooperation. The Angolan team is led by Jorge Cardoso, Director for Africa, Middle East and Regional Organizations at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and includes the Angolan Ambassador to Kenya, Sianga Abilio. It also includes Carlos Sardinia, Head of the International Cooperation Directorate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, technicians from the Presidency of the Republic, and various ministerial departments who worked during these 3 days, divided into 3 thematic groups, namely Foreign Affairs and Security, Economic Affairs and Trade, Social and Cultural Affairs. The work agenda of the technical delegations of Angola and Kenya includes, among others, draft agreements linked to the sectors of health, agriculture, environment, telecommunications, maritime transport, youth and sports.
Wrapping up our top stories, Guinean security forces have arrested a dozen journalists who were demonstrating against alleged media censorship in the country, local media reports. Now, among those arrested in Monday's protest was the Secretary General of the Union of Professionals of the Press of Guinea, Sekou Jamal Pendesa, local media said. The union had called a march in the capital Conakry to demand that the authorities lift restrictions placed on a popular news website, Guinea Matin, and to protest against other violations of press freedom. Guinea Matin has reportedly been blocked in Guinea for the last 2 months. Guinea's ruling junta, which has banned protests since 2022, has not provided any explanation for the blockage.
All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. Now, of course, with the Israeli-Palestine conflict ensuing and people pledging their support to the 2 different nations, South Africa has clarified its position in the conflict. And we'll be getting into that a little after the break with Ari Khogad.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
We'll now be taking a quick trip to Cape Town to speak to Ari Khogad, so he updates us on all the latest news making headlines in South Africa. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, a very good morning, Diana, and everybody. Nice to talk from Cape Town. Sunny, beautiful day here.
We can see. All right, now, Ari, getting straight into it. The South African government have clarified their support in the Israeli-Palestine conflict by denying its support to the Hamas, but by reaffirming support to the Palestine people. What's going on?
Yes, it's obviously a complex situation. It's complex internationally, but it's trending in the news at the moment in South Africa. It's number 1 at the moment, so we have to talk about that. But what happened overnight was just the Minister of it is Department of Relationships and Cooperation, that is Minister Naledi Pandor, just maybe clarifies the word clarifies the position that is Naledi Pandor clarifies South Africa's position related to the conversation, the phone call she had with Hamas that directly on Monday, apparently. I think the challenge, it seems like in media, as we pick it up, was more that it was that conversation was confirmed by Hamas and not by the department. And so it was just to clarify the position of South Africa in this tricky situation. That is the Palestinian leader, that is Mahmoud Abbas. So what makes it difficult is that he says that Hamas is not representing the people of Palestine. That is because of their policies and actions. So it is a tricky position within Hamas, obviously more in the Gaza Strip at the moment. or been there for lots of time. So it is a tricky situation. South Africa said that the statement was it was more for humanitarian support that the phone call was made, the conversation was made with Hamas, and they still the official point is still that there needs to be a cease of fire and that there can be peace between Hamas and Palestinian and Israel. So this is a tricky one to talk about, but it is the position of South Africa at the moment. It is to clarify their position. So the talk was that they should talk to both sides if there's conversations, but at least it's been clarified. It was to support humanitarian aid to Palestine. That was why the conversation was made. So hopefully that will be resolved and South Africa can just reaffirm their position in this.
Yes, we also hope the same. Now moving on, online shopping in South Africa continued to grow as Amazon is set to launch their online marketplace. This sounds exciting. Can you get into this?
Yes, it is exciting. I think it's, well, we all love going to the shops and doing the shopping, seeing the stuff, but this is a whole new shopping experience online. That is Takealot, that is very established at the moment still in South Africa. Takealot actually have a challenge with the Competition Commission at the moment with a ruling that they must split their retail and online divisions. But it is Amazon that said that they will be in South Africa as from 2024. There's been speculation because they did put in adverts to appoint people in certain positions. So their online marketplace is in South Africa, and so the online shopping, they will continue to grow in South Africa. So that will be good for the South African business. What it means for South African business is that the General Manager of Sub-Sahara Amazon, that is Robert Kuhn, he just confirmed that it's an opportunity for local sellers to scale up their business, of course. There's a bigger platform to sell their local business as well in South Africa. It's not just overseas stuff that's available on Amazon. So hopefully that will help the economy of South Africa as well.
As much as I would love to have Amazon in Namibia, I do know that I will definitely go broke because shopping from the comfort of my own home sounds like a trap, but that is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, the International Monetary Fund envisions that South Africa will be Africa's biggest economy in 2024. This is definitely good news.
Yes, I think there's good positive steps in the right direction. South Africa do still have massive challenges with the load shedding and a few other government, or the, let's say, governing situations. But I think it's the reality is that the Monetary Fund said that they envision from 2024, South Africa will have a gross domestic product of $401 billion US. So that will overtake Nigeria, 395 billion US dollars, and Egypt 358. That might just be for the year or two, but the reason is more that Nigeria's GDP declined. That was because of oil productions, and Egypt also they devaluated their own currency a few times, about 3 times since 2020. So they also have a few challenges economically. So it's more that the other two maybe stepped down a little bit. But South Africa do have lots of initiatives like this initiative as well that you can see. It's the business summit with Uganda. There's many of those business summits and many initiatives in Africa, and obviously also BRICS that makes South Africa a lot stronger. That relationship with 5 strong international companies or international countries. So hopefully South Africa's economy can just grow and be the leader in Africa. So it will be good to see.
Now in your next story, still on to some good news in South Africa. In the sporting world, South Africa is in the spotlight again on the world stage as the national men's rugby and cricket teams contend for titles in their respective World Cups.
Yes, that always is a big component for South Africa to keep everyone in South Africa positive and smiling. The rugby team qualified for the semi-finals of the World Cup. That was a big achievement, beating the host France that we all know. Big game coming up this Saturday. They play against England. There's also a cricket World Cup on the go. South African cricket team did well until yesterday. They lost to Netherlands yesterday. That was a massive surprise. So England also lost to Afghanistan. So they play each other actually on Saturday. So it's a double header against England. South Africa play England first in cricket. Starts 10:30 Namibian time cricket, and then late in the evening they play them in rugby World Cup. Through rugby and cricket World Cup taking place at the same time. That's unprecedented against the same country. playing them. So that will be a big day, South Africa against England on Saturday. But the South African rugby team and cricket team, they putting the vibe, so to speak, for South Africa up there. And you can see the smiles there, and that's what we need in South Africa. We tend to just focus on these positive things and take a big sporting event and say, this is good for us. We can live together, we can win together, and it's good for us. So hopefully they can win again on Saturday, and there's a final in the Rugby World Cup.
And hopefully they spare you from load shedding so you get to catch the games. All right, Ari, thank you so much for giving us an update on all the latest news in South Africa.
Yes, a big pleasure and a brilliant day for everyone. Bye-bye.
We'll now take a look at the weather predictions before we return with our economic news.
Getting into our economic news, Ghana's sovereign dollar bonds dropped sharply on Tuesday after a government presentation of debt rework scenarios that aimed for a haircut of between 30 to 40% on the principal disappointed investors. Some bonds fell to their lowest level in 3 months, with the 2061 issue down as much as 2.9 cents in the dollar to 38.9 cents. TradeWeb data showed other bonds later recovered some grounds, though were still down between 1.5 cents and 2.2 cents in the dollar.
Teresa PLC will delay commissioning its Akaro mine in Zimbabwe by up to a year to June 2025 due to current weak platinum group metal prices and an uncertain global economic outlook, the miner said on Tuesday. Teresa is building the 194,000 ounce per year Karo PGM mine at a cost of $391 million on Zimbabwe's Great Dyke, about 100 kilometers southwest of the capital, Harare. The mine, which is close to Impala Platinum Zimplat's operations, was due to be commissioned by July 2024.
We'll now take a look at our economic indicators before we come back with the sporting news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news and starting off with rugby news first. It's Rugby World Cup France 2023 that continues. Quarterfinals done, semi-finals coming up this coming weekend, and it's France the host that's out of the tournament, lost against South Africa on Sunday. And news from France, the French Rugby Federation is that they confirmed that they want Fabien Galtier, their current coach, to continue to coach the team going forward. Galtier had good success. They also won the Six Nations under Galtier, but lost on Sunday against South Africa in the quarterfinals. Very tight game by 1 point. And then also Australian coach Eddie Jones confirmed that he wants to continue to coach Australia. There were rumours that he will move on to coach Japan after the World Cup. It was not a good campaign for Australia. They didn't make the playoffs in this year's campaign. And it is Eddie Jones that said that he wants to continue to be the coach of Australia. He said that he's committed to Australian rugby and he wants to honour his 4-year contract. And so it seems like he will continue to coach Australia. Also related to South African rugby, it is Jacques Nienaber that will also move on. He will not continue to be the South African coach after the World Cup. He will coach in Ireland. And continuing with football news, so soccer news, it is from Euro 24, European Championship 24 qualifiers. Not good news for a game that was played in Brussels. It is the game between Belgium and Sweden that was abandoned, and that was because of a shooting in the city where 2 citizens from Sweden died, and the game was abandoned at half time. And it is in Group F, and it is also in Group F where Austria beat Azerbaijan by 1-0. It is Austria and Belgium comfortably leading in Group F, and it is also in Group B that was Netherlands that beat Greece by 1-0. That was games played on Monday, and France and Netherlands leading in Group B. The Euro Championships will be played in Germany in 2024. Currently there's 10 groups. There's 60 teams that's playing, trying to get 23 spots to qualify for Europe 2024. It is Germany as the host that already automatically qualified for the tournament. And continuing international sports news with tennis news, it is after the Shanghai Open, it is now the Tokyo Open. Not all the top players in the world playing in this. It is, for instance, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic and Daniel Medvedev not playing in Tokyo. But the number 1 seed, Taylor Fritz from the USA, he's through to the next round. It was in the round of 32. He beat Cameron Norrie of Great Britain, and the score there was 6-4 and 6-3. Not good news for number 3 seed, that is Alexander Zverev of Germany. He lost in the round of 32. He lost to Jordan Thompson, he's of Australia, and it was a 6-3 and 6-4. Another Australian that did well, it is Alex de Minaur. He's the number 4 seed. He beat Jack Draper of Great Britain in a tough game, 4-6, 7-6 and 7-6. And the number 2 seed in the tournament, still in the tournament, and that is Casper Ruud. He will play in the round of 32. And also Francis Tiafoe of the USA, another player that is one of the early favourites. To conclude today's international sports news, it is golf news. It is the Nedbank Golf Challenge, that is Africa's major, that will take place in November at Sun City. That is from the 9th to the 12th of November at the Gary Player Country Club. Good news that there's a strong field that will play. It is part of the DP World Tour, so it's a strong field that will play. Confirmation of 2 new players that will play. They both played in the Ryder Cup recently, where Europe beat the USA in Italy, and the rookies that will play is Nikolai Højgaard and also Robert McIntyre. Already a strong field that's going to be assembled, 66 players that will play in this event, and some of the players I can mention that will tee it up in November is Tommy Fleetwood and also Justin Rose, and then also Americans Max Homa and Justin Thomas. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast, but before we say goodbye, here are the news highlights. Ghana Navy rescues over 8,000 as dams overflow. Zimbabwe worker exodus intensifies with economy in meltdown. Ghana dollar bonds tumble as investors balk at debt overhaul plans.
And with that, we have come to the end of our broadcast. Do remember that you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Diana Master, we do wish you a lovely Wednesday ahead.